My reasoning was, I'm smart enough to get a job. How much smarter do you need to be?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, American entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker Jim Rohn enlightens us on why we shouldn't be afraid of being great. As we become successful,
Here was the most important one. Success is something you attract by the person you become.
not only do we have more spending power, but our entire life changes, as does our personality. We should be proud of who we are becoming if we are to be successful and attract wealth. Learning new skills and developing ourselves is the best path toward attracting success. We should learn to set goals and be able to spot what Rohn calls diseases of attitude, which can ruin productivity. One disease is wishing there was more time to accomplish things. Changing our philosophy on life and becoming an attractive force will quickly affect how much success will come to us. Refrain from giving and taking lessons that demand the listener to do something. We should be more inclusive when teaching others. Rohn claims that the way around time constraints and increasing output is becoming more skillful. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and learn the skills you need to succeed as soon as possible.
Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. My experience that income does not far exceed personal development. But sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible. Success is something you attract, not something you pursue. Success is looking for a good place to stay. So instead of going after it, you work on yourself. Personal development. See, the major question to ask on the job is not what are you getting? The major question to ask on the job is what are you becoming? See, the big question is not what am I getting paid here? The big question is what am I becoming here? Because true happiness is not contained in what you get. Happiness is contained in what you become. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And see, that's how life gets better for you. Not by chance, but by change. But fortunately, when I was 25, I met the man who taught me how, and it revolutionized my whole life. Economically, socially, personally, it's incredible. So I want to share with you tonight what Mr. Shove shared with me, how to set goals. It can be a life changer. Okay, the next subject is the negative part of the seminar. Life is part negative, so we got to talk about the negative. And this subject is called diseases. Diseases of attitude. There's a lot of things that can wreck your chances to do well. We live in a rather dangerous world, so you got to be not only wise, you got to be careful. Now, attitude diseases are just as bad as physical diseases, right? High blood pressure, heart trouble. I mean, a lot of things lace your chances to do well. So you've got to be careful. And attitude diseases are deadly. I mean, they'll destroy all the good things you start. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. I told myself that day, this will never happen to me. One of those experiences. It's called like life change. I said, I'm going to search till I find better opportunities so my pocket won't be empty and the bank account won't be empty and I won't be so far behind on my promises to my family. And it was shortly after that I meet Earl Shove, who taught me how to be wealthy, who taught me how to change my life. So who knows what the connection is? Someone says when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You know, I don't know all the mystery of that. But anyway, it seems like some of those things uniquely happen. But it was Mr. Shove over a 5-year period before he died at age 49 who taught me some extraordinarily simple things. He only went to the 9th grade in school, never finished high school, never went to college, never went to university. So he put his ideas and his experiences in very simple language, which I think for me, you know, a kid from the farms of Idaho, that simplicity was so important. Success is not something you pursue. It's like chasing a butterfly, you can't quite catch it. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. See, those were new concepts to me. I'm just working hard trying to make a living. Here's what he said to me. This changed my life. I got a chance to teach this in Moscow and across Russia. 3 visits, now the 4th. Here's what Shove taught me. Profits are better than wage. Nobody taught me that in high school. Nobody taught me that. I went to 1 year of college. Nobody taught me. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. And how could you work on both a living and a fortune. He said, well, you could start part-time working on your fortune while you're working full-time on your living. I thought, wow. Somebody says, you ought, you ought, you ought. Jot this down. Ignore all the you oughts or you should. Only if they're giving general information. We should. It's better to say if you're teaching, we should. Not you should, we should. Then you let me listen in without it being too confrontational. If everyone did this, see, that'd be great. And then you give a person a chance to choose to do it or not to do it. But when you start the you ought, now see if I don't, now see we got some tension and maybe some problems. So you oughts seem to always create problems. Here's the key, not to work harder, but smarter. When you've worked as hard as you can, doing the best you can in terms of physical output in the time, reasonable time. Now here's the ultimate in the management of time, and that is you simply become more skillful. When I first got into sales, I was around people that could get, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And when I first started, I could only get 1 out of 10. But here's what I did. I worked around the clock, so that I would make up in numbers what I lacked in skill. That's good in sales. You got to jot that down. When you're new, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. Now, when you become more skillful, the numbers can go down because now your persuasive ability and all of that is now so high that you don't need to put as many numbers out. But at first, if you want to compete or if you want to really get good, you've got to put in the numbers.
Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and consider subscribing for more motivational videos.